Okay, so at this point, what we're going to move on to looking at now is how to go about putting together a double page spread. So let me just close this one and let's open a new file. Essentially, it's just the dimensions of the width that changes for this particular template. So instead of being at 210 in width, it is 420 millimeters because it's double the size of an A4 because it's A3. Everything, all the other settings remain the same, 300 pixels per inch, etc. I'm just going to name this double page spread tutorial. I'm going to hit OK, and that will give me my template for my double page spread. The one you've just seen then is one I'd produced last year. I'll just be using a couple of things from this one to bring into the other one when we develop our work. So essentially, yeah, that was just taken from the Mark Ronson one, and it was just a very simple design just to show you where everything goes and how you develop a layout. So we're going to do a very similar thing for this one. So first I want to bring down my rulers to make sure that I have my margins set in place. I'm going to bring it down about one of those dashes at the side to make sure those are accurate, and to make sure, and to break the space down really into a workable area, because I think an A3 big page like this can be quite daunting to look at first. So I'm going to put a ruler right at 21 because that's the halfway point of the page, and then I'm going to put another two rulers 5 mil either side of that 21 to create what we call the gutter to the magazine. So essentially nothing should be within those points there, because that is the centerfold of our double page spread, and it will get lost down what we call the gutter in the center if any text or images were to enter those areas. So that is our basic setup in terms of the rulers that we're going to use. Obviously with layout and development on that, we're going to be using different ones. We're going to be using different rulers and adding more to it. So we've got our picture of Prince. I'm going to use the same one as I use on the front cover just for ease really, and I'm going to drag that, if I can, just unlock it, I'm going to drag that into here. Now I'm quickly going to do what I did in another tutorial, which is to extract prints from the background and then fill in the background, the content aware tool, just to give us our background. Because essentially what I want to do here is take this original background from prints, fill in the middle, and make it larger so it can spread across a double page. Or you could use the background extraction tool. It's kind of up to you and what your photography is like, because if you're doing portrait photography like we have been doing for this particular module, then you may struggle to find images that stretch across both pages. I mean, alternatively, you could look at treating these as two separate pages and simply having this image on half the page, like so, and then we would crop this image from the center and hit delete, and then what you've got there really is two separate pages to work with. You've got your image page on the right hand side, and then you've got your blank page where you can add your header, your cover story, your text, your stand first, drop cap, etc. But we're going to try and make it, on this particular one, flow nicely across both pages. So I'm just going to quickly do this. Okay, so we have got our background filled in there. It's not quite perfect by any means, but essentially what I'm just going to do here to fix this is just go back over with my rectangular marquee, right click and hit fill on that layer and just content aware fill it again to see if we can make it look any better. And then I'm going to just try using the healing brush. To make it look smoother if we can. Sometimes it can be quite difficult to accurately fill in that background. But now what we can do with that, with a nice solid colour, is we can expand that. Make it nice and big. And again, you can do what we did in the original tutorial and extract from the background and use something completely different. I just wanted to show you a different technique here. Just going to leave it like that for now, and then what I'll do is, whilst that's quite large, I'm just going to select the template. There we go, and then I'm going to turn this extracted prints layer back on, so we bring in back into the foreground. And I'm just going to make him a bit bigger. So his arm just does go over the gutter there, but it's not too much of a problem. It's not a focal point really. Place that there. Okay, so we have the basic shape here to our double page spread, and I'm now going to just take a little bit from last year's, and I'm going to take the masthead again from here, because that would go at the top of all retros cover double page spreads as a house style. Let me just find the masthead on here. There we go. I'm going to drag it into here, and then we're going to do a bit of editing with this. Make that purple, and we'll take down the stroke to about 3 and make it our house style of grey. Put that there. I'm going to make it smaller for now. That's where we'll keep that. And now essentially what we have to do, similar to this one here where you've got on this Mark Ronson one where it says the colour of crew mail, let's work from the top to the bottom again that we have been doing on the contents page and look at creating our headline for this particular page. So let's go back into here, and what I'm going to use for this, the headline that I'm going to use is going to be called, just change that to the, I'm just going to change it to white for now. Again, that might be subject to change later on, but again, this is just a draft, we're just piecing this out, just getting a feel of it. Everlasting, and I'm going to change the font of this because again we want to experiment with different fonts, and you've got to look at what emphasis you're going to put on certain words. Everlasting carries different connotations. Again, very quick. Just getting something down on the page. Let's just change that to Evis. Put that there for now. We'll bring the in a little bit, and then with all three of those layers, so holding Control, we can select all of these, and then it's almost as if we group those and we could move them all at once. We can also resize them at the same time. So I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. And that's just a very basic headline there that we can look at developing later on. And then I'm just going to hit underneath. All I'm going to put underneath is small byline. The byline is where we go. Just get rid of that one. Who the article is by. So I'm just going to put and I'm going to change that to dead simple font. Just put Times New Roman in for this. I'm just going to put that there for now. Underneath. Again, it would probably be moved. So yeah, what we've got there is our area here where our headline is going, and what we've got in this space below now is space for a stand first, our introductory paragraph, and then generally it's 2 to 3 columns that you want to be putting on a page. I mean, you could have your photo less prominent and have text on both pages, but for the purpose of this I will create 3 columns. See if those look about right, but I've only done that by eye for now. So one of the most important things that we have to consider now with our double page spread design, because we're dealing with a lot more writing this time, a lot more journalism, your own individual journalism. So we've got to make sure that the text is justified correctly. So in order to do that, what we've got to look at doing is creating text boxes rather than just clicking on the page. Now for the front cover and the contents page, it often works in our favour just to click the text as such on the page and then just start typing wherever. But this time what we really want to do, let's just get rid of that layer, is to create text boxes for text to go in via our ruler lines here. So I'm just going to draw out a text box here that will take up all this space, and then I'm just going to quickly paste some stock text in for a second in just a Times New Roman font, and then what you'll see here is that your text appears as normal. Now the optimum, I wouldn't say there's a specific size you'd need for your stand first text. That's really up to you, but for our main article we'll be using size 11. That's the recommended size. And then we control the text box from here. We can make it bigger, we can make it, there's quite a lot of text in here, so let me get it up to there, where's a full stop, and let's just make that a little bit bigger there. Okay, let's just move that down slightly. So that's our stand first. Now what the 2 important things that you want to look at here is your character panel and your paragraph panel. This is where you can make individual changes to not only the letters and the words specifically, but the paragraph tool as well, where we can justify it to the left like so. We can justify it in the center or the right hand side, or you can look at justifying it last left, justify last center, justify last right, so that bottom line moves in terms of that, or justify as a block of text. Okay, so what we see there is that what we've got is a block of text that ends abruptly on both sides. That can be quite aesthetically pleasing for a magazine document. But I'm just going to, because of this bottom line, what happens is it can be a little bit of a fiddly tool to justify all, because that bottom line will space out like so. So I'm just going to justify that last left. So that bottom line justifies towards the left. And then I'm going to unclick the hyphenate tab there because we don't want the words hyphenated on a magazine article. That's not the standard. So I'm just going to bold this to make it stand out for our stand first. You'll have picked up different techniques from the variety of research that you've done. This is just a very basic look at that. And then what we're going to do underneath is get the text ready for our main article. Now there's a bit of a trick here what we can apply. If we draw a new text box, so you get a text box, let's say we want a gap between that stand first and our main article being started. What we can do is, if we draw the text box like so, to our guides, and then again I'm just going to paste in our the stock text, because I've not got some journalism. So let me get rid of some. In fact, let's make it smaller first. I want to make it size 11. That's generally the size we use. Let's get rid of this bottom part just so we can fit it into one. Okay, make that a bit longer. Can we fit it into that box? Not quite, just for the purpose of this. I'm going to get rid of that last line, and then just to get it to and that gives us here a nice solid block of text. I'm just going to move that to the bottom there, and again that's currently justified last left, so there whatever is the last line will justify towards the left, and again your research will tell you different things, but there is no harm in justifying your text to the left. Generally you wouldn't use the center justify or right justify, depending on where your text was on the page essentially. But I'm just going to use last justify left because it's in a block of text that way. Now, we don't have to try and match this up with new text boxes each time. We're going to use our Alt key over this layer, which enables us to duplicate that text, like so. And then you've got 3 blocks of the same text, and all then you have to do there is go through your second and third blocks, because your text boxes are already constructed for you. All you have to do there is go through and change the actual text within those boxes. And then that gives you the basis and the outline for a structured, layered article. And then you can start looking at adding other aspects to the page. Perhaps you want to put a page number in. Let's say this is page 91. If we go from what we were saying on our contents page, put that there. And then I might just want to drop shadow that just to make it stand out a little bit more. Again, that's quite big for a page number. You'd probably take that down quite significantly. It's all about getting those proportions and sizes right. Control T. hold shift to transform, bring that down just there. Okay, you might want to put a little website name next to that. I don't know, www. I'm just going to put chattom.com. Again, let's make that, T that, put that on that bottom margin. Near the 91. That might be something you want to apply to that. Again, we're just looking at basic standard elements that you'd really want. Another technique that is often used, another convention of a double page spread, is to include a drop capital letter. So that might be something you want to look at. Again, Photoshop is mainly a photography based program, but without going into other programs in detail like InDesign and Illustrator, we can cheat it a little bit so we can bring in a drop cap. A drop cap is essentially the first letter. It's a stylistic element to a double page spread. I'm just going to get rid of the L there, and then I'm going to essentially create a space where I can put my large L. There. Just going to make that bigger. Put that over the top there, and then I'm going to drag this other text box there, and I'm going to drag that first text box that we had earlier on. So just here, that's why it's important to name your layers, because you never know which one you're moving. Oh, just make that, just for the purpose of this, I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller. Again, fiddly work. So you're going to have to play about with these. Try and get it right. But the way you can cheat it is then just by simply adding another text box here. A little bit. And then bringing that back down to size 11, like the other text boxes. And then I'm just going to put some more type in here, just to fill the gaps. Like so. Make sure this is what can happen when we're justifying text. It can sometimes become mismatched and the letters have different spacing, but it's up to you to have a look at that and see if you can experiment with it enough to fix it. If you want to go into more detailed changes, you can hit this drop box here and look at the justification panel, and you can move and individually look at word spacing, letter spacing, and the glyph scaling in there. That's a little tip as well. Again, not perfect by any means, but we've brought in a little bit of a drop cap. Ideally, there'd be more space here. So if we look at that one here, let's just see if that's the one there. Hit the text box. Put that in like so. And again, let's make that L in line with that. It's all about the layout and all about making that look smooth. Move that in a little bit. That's a little bit better. So again, got that there. looks quite strong. We might want to just take that first line away here because that's a little bit higher. But again, it's just about how you play with those here. Again, you could look at changing this from justify, and that is justified last left, that's fine. Then you could start looking at headline again, and you're going to change, I don't know, emphasize the ever part here and change that to our house style of purple. And the same again, the everlasting now. Are you going to add a drop shadow? Command all those. I think you might be able to do. You can't do it all at once, but you can go in there and add your drop shadow to those layers. Okay, so there's plenty that you can do. This is just a very basic exercise. You can also go over here, and what's recommended often is a pull quote to go on this side to stand out. I don't know if there's not one on this side, but what we've got on this one, added shapes and boxes here just to outline and anchor that picture. Again, page numbers being used there. There is a quote here in the middle. It's the most dramatic moment on the album. That's there. We can look at adding something similar in here if we wanted to by using the text tool again. Try and think of a quote from here. Oh, I don't know. Let's take some from another bit of text. Copy that. Paste that on a new layer. Put it in quote marks. Justify that center. And then we could possibly move that. We could adjust our text so we could have this quote fit around that, or we can just put it here and start playing with the graphic of that particular text to make it stand out. Again, your research will inform you either way. So that is in a sense how we might want to start thinking about laying out our double page spread.